How many of you have ever heard of the Disney princess Mulan? Her story in the movie Mulan is about a young woman who disguised herself as a man to fight in China's army and isn't discovered until she is wounded in battle. I'm sure when you hear a story like this, you can never imagine it happen in real life. However, when you compare Mulan's story with that of one Deborah Sampson, a young woman who disguised herself as a man to fight in the United States Army and isn't discovered until she is wounded in battle, the similarities are outstanding. The main difference is that one was a movie and one happened in the United States during the time of the American Revolution. Hi, my name is Keough, and today I will be informing you on who Deborah Sampson was. Deborah Sampson is just one among countless remarkable women who have been forgotten by history, and her story is one that deserves to be remembered. I first heard about Deborah Sampson in 2018 after hearing about her from a friend. After that, I did some light research on her time serving in the Army, and due to this assignment, my research became more in depth. Today I will be going over first, who Deborah Sampson was, second, her time serving in the Army, and third, her life after serving. First, let me tell you who Deborah Sampson was. Deborah Sampson was the youngest of 6 children, and she was born into a very poor family. In his 1992 article, America's First Woman Warrior, Patrick Leonard reports that Sampson's father, a failed farmer, abandoned his family and left Deborah's mother with 6 children. Unable to care for them all, Deborah's mother was forced to separate them all into different families. Deborah found a home with Jeremiah Thomas and his wife as an indentured servant. They treated her as her own, and they taught her how to read and write, although she was already primarily self-taught and was reported as uncommonly gifted. Jeremiah Thomas was a patriot and thought that Deborah deserved to know how to fight for herself and for her country. Due to that, he taught Deborah how to do things that most women were not supposed to know how to do, such as firing a gun and fighting. After Sampson finished her time as a servant with the Thomas family at age 18, she took a teaching position at a nearby school where she stayed for 4 years. Now that we know about Deborah Sampson's upbringing, let's learn about her time in the Army. During her time as a servant and a teacher, the Revolutionary War had begun. Sampson didn't like how, as a woman, she was unable to serve her country, and she became uneasy in her teaching position. According to the Journal News' 2002 newspaper article, Deborah Sampson, a revolutionary woman, Deborah's brother Ephraim had been writing letters home about his time serving in the Army, and this signaled the last straw for Sampson. It was due to her patriotic need to serve drew her to cutting off her hair, binding her chest, and on May 23, 1782, enlisting in the Continental Army under the name Robert Shirtliff. Disguised as a man, Sampson was assigned in light infantry in West Point, New York, as one of 10,000 soldiers who marched before the main army, and she learned how to load and shoot a musket twice under a minute and charge with a bayonet. Not being discovered as a woman wasn't easy, however, and according to Susan Casey in her 2015 book, Women Heroes of the American Revolution, there were a few close calls. One of these times was in White Plains, when Deborah's unit was ambushed, and among the reinforcements who came as backup was Deborah's old neighbor. Luckily, due to her short hair and wearing men's clothes, he didn't recognize her. The second instance was not under such mild circumstances, however. In August of 1782 in Tarrytown, New York, Deborah's unit was again attacked, and amidst the battle, she was shot in the leg twice with 2 musket balls. Out of fear of being discovered in a hospital, she dragged herself behind a tree in the middle of the battlefield and proceeded to dig the musket balls out of her leg with a penknife. It is in this instance that she earned the title of the first woman to take a bullet for America. She then sewed up her leg and continued in the fight. After all these close calls and 3 years of service, however, she was finally discovered. After a fever swept the camp she was in, she came down with it and fell unconscious. Unable to protect herself from discovery, Dr. Barnabas Finney examined her and discovered her secret. Instead of turning her in, however, he took her back to his home, where she was able to recover after several months. During this time, Dr. Binney only told one person about her secret, the commander of West Point, General John Patterson. Luckily, he shared in Dr. Binney's admiration of her service and gave her an honorable discharge. Having learned about Sampson's time in the Army, we lastly look at her life after serving. After her discharge, Sampson continued her life as a teacher, marrying Benjamin Gannett and having 3 children. Nearly 10 years later, realizing her story is one that deserved to be told, she partnered with Herman Mann, who wrote The Female Review, a book about her life and her stories as a soldier. However, in her 2004 article, The Woman Who Played the Man, Anne Lombard exposes Mann for embellishing and romanticizing Sampson's stories, so his accounts are not exactly trustworthy. Along with her written account of her life, Sampson was the first woman to give a year-long lecture tour, dressing up in full military regalia and recounting her stories in front of large crowds. Hearing her story through her book and her tour, Paul Revere himself personally wrote a letter on her behalf to the government after she was denied her military pension. With his aid, she became the only woman to receive her full military pension during the Revolutionary War. After her death at age 66, her husband, Benjamin Gannett, petitioned Congress for the right to receive a widower's pension as the widower of an American Revolutionary War veteran. Eventually, Gannett was rewarded the money by a committee who decided that the war had furnished no other similar example of female heroism, courage, and fidelity. And with that, I conclude my discussion on Deborah Sampson. So, in summary, Deborah Sampson's patriotism was evident through her early life, and her experiences as a young woman only aided in her need to serve her country. Second, during her time disguised as a man, Deborah displayed undeniable courage. And third, even after her time serving, she continued to impact society by going on tour and writing a book about her time as a soldier. Deborah Sampson, through her actions, stands out among the countless women who have been forgotten by history and were not recognized during times of war. And her story is one that deserves to be remembered. I hope that what you've learned today will further your need to research heroic women that have impacted history and gained a new respect for Deborah Sampson. Thank you.